जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंद जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जायम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, entitled Creation. This is chapter 5, entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday, I think this text 11 was not completed in the purport, so we'll just take the verse purport and then we'll discuss. So this is text 11. Tat Vag Visargo Janata Agha Viplava Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhaddavaddapi Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitani Yad Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhaddavaddapi Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhaddavaddapi Namani Anantasya Yashonkitaniya Namani Anantasya Yashonkitaniya Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhaddavaddapi Namani Anantasya Yashonkitaniya Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhaddavaddapi नामानि अनन्तस्य यशोऽङ्कितानि शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. Please recite. तद्वाग् विसर्गो जनताग विप्लवो. नामानि अनन्तस्य यशोऽङ्कितानि शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. तद्वाग् विसर्गो जनताग विप्लवो. यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकमबद्धवदपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यशोऽङ्कितानि शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. तद्वाग् विसर्गो जनताग विप्लवो. यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकमबद्धवदपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यशोऽङ्कितानि शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. तद्वाग् विसर्गो जनताग विप्लवो. यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकमबद्धवदपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यशोऽङ्कितानि शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. Anybody from Vaishnavis? We'll see word to word meaning. Tat, that. Vag, vocabulary. Visarga, creation. Janata, the people in general. Agha, sins. Viplava, revolutionary. Yasmin, in which. Prati shlokam, each and every stanza. Abhaddavati, irregularly composed. Api, in spite of. Namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord. Yasha, glories. Ankitani, depicted. Yad, what? Shrinvanti, do hear. Gayanti, do sing. Grinanti, do accept. Sadhava, the purified men who are honest. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. On the other hand, that literature which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the names, fame, form, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So please recite the translation in response. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up the nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that the previously both China and India both lived in peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of a quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over the land which is not very suitable for habitation, and certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to an issue in a question, but to the polluted atmosphere in this age. Systematically, there is a propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is a duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the society of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know literature conveys the transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general, and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this subject matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies, despite our honest attempt to present in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into the consideration, and the leaders of the society will accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. When there is a fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this Kali Yuga, age of Kali, quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscure literature. This means neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. Yet, in this marketplace, because the people want it for sense gratification, the people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under these circumstances, the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but it will also supply food for the hankering after some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that the sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be scientific propagation for popularizing the reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When the men have a taste of this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to the society, will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in the human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. For it is recommended by Sri Narada, who kindly appeared in this chapter. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So first of all, seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees. Very happy to be with all of you on this day. We are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, a very, very important section where Narada Muni is giving instructions to Vyasadeva. And in the last time we have discussed about how Vyasa had welcomed Narada Muni into his life. So in the previous verse, I'll just take one glimpse over the previous verse and then we'll come to today's verse. So in the previous verse, there is description of pilgrimage for crows. Right? So, if we look towards the life of crows, the crows go and hover over. You know, hover over? They hover over the place where is filth, full dirt. And when they go and put their beaks into this dirty, filthy place, they relish it. Right? And Shri Shri Radha Madhava Bhagavan ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki. So they go to the filthy place and they relish eating that. And if at all you have seen it with your practical eyes, you will see that while crows are feasting on that filthy place, they fight amongst each other that this filth is for me. This filth is for me. So when I heard that, I did not have so much realization. But up until the date, when I was serving in Juhu, I used to go to vegetable market in Vashi. Quite often I used to go. So on one particular day, Even while going in the tunnel, we used to hear this, on the tapes, like that. So one particular day in the morning, I reached to this marketplace. In one corner, there was all the filth of, vegetables which are rotten, which are dirty. It was thrown in one place, and there were one or two dead rats also in that place. And I saw literally with my own eyes crows hovering over it, eating it, relishing it, fighting amongst each other that this is my filth, this is my filth. Then I realized what is called as pilgrimage of crows. What it is mentioned in the verse? Pilgrimage of crows. What is the Sanskrit verse here? Word? Vayasam Tirtham. So that's why you see crows in black color. You never see the swans, so white swans. So the white represents here purified heart. You will never see a swan coming there. If a bird is coming and eating filth, that means it is crow. So in this material world also you will see that there is so much of filth. Over internet, over newspapers, over magazines, right? There was one very viral video during the book distribution, right? So one devotee, not one devotee, a visitor was asking a question to the speaker that, sir, why do you distribute books, Prabhupada books? So he answered, should we sell the obscene literature which is there? Should we sell the newspapers? What should we do? Prabhupada writes here, there is always an instinct to read. So especially when this was pre-digital technology revolution, if you go to London, all the people who travel in the trains used to have newspapers on their heads. Hardly you would be able to see any person with their face. Everyone used to read newspapers. That is English, England that time. So everyone has that instinct to read. So even now you will see in this current modern times, even with the digital technology, people have that instinct to read. There are newspapers who come on the applications who have digitalized the revolution. So there is always that instinct that I should read something. Like crows, just like hunger, right? After some time you feel like, yes, I need to read something or I need to eat something. So this is a natural instinct. So this natural instinct should be given with a proper food. Srimad Bhagavatam. If this food is not available, people will go out and eat junks. So much of filth that is available. In the second canto, in the beginning, when Parikshit Maharaj approaches Shukadeva Goswami, he speaks about this concept. He says, what is that verse which he speaks? I am just missing that verse. Grahamedinam, it verse ends like that. Second canto, first chapter, second verse. Can we go there? Shrotavyadinu Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasrata Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedina. Shrotavyadinu Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasrasha. Nirnam Santi means the human being, Nirnam Santi Sahasrasha. Second canto, first chapter. This one only, yeah. Srotavyadinu Rajan, the persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So he is telling there are so many crows, right? How many of you have seen crows? Everyone, right? How many of you have seen swans? Swans. Swan, the white swan which floats in the lake. Very rare to see actually. Right? Crows you will see everywhere. You go to every city, every corner of the city you will see crows. Right? Swans are rare. You will find swans only in ISKCON temple. All white, dressed nicely, very fresh, bright faces. All others are crows. So, in the previous purport, Prabhupada writes, crows and swans are not birds of the same feather. It is said, there is a saying in English, birds of same feather flock together. So there are so many pilgrimages in the swans, so many pilgrimages for the crows. Cinema halls, brothels, and liquor houses, like that. So, two categories of people, crows and swans. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is literature for whom? For swans. Tatha Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katam Pashyemahi Striyaha. So Kunti Manan is telling that this Krishna consciousness is meant for thoroughly purified people. So one of the quality of the purified people is that they are thoroughly honest, is what is being described here. So Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why there is a hope. Sometimes people feel in the modern idea, modern concept, because of lack of their knowledge, they feel that Srimad Bhagavatam is like 5,000 years old. So long, is it relevant today? You read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, you will get a revelation. Prabhupada is speaking about India and China fighting, and even now we can see that there are two countries who are fighting. What is the reason? They want to acquire possession over a land which is very difficult for inhabitation. From past 3,000 or 2,000 plus years, there is a small patch of land which is called as Gaza, which is more or less a desert near Israel. And there are two capitals, Israel and Palestine. They are fighting for that patch of land from time immemorial. From 2,000 years, that patch of land, they are still not clear. Similarly, you will see Afghanistan. The governments have changed like so many times. And Afghanistan is not a place where there is crops, where natural resources, nothing. Just to show that I have possession over, control over this land, people are fighting. Same thing with other countries now. Slight provocation, there is fight. So in this kind of a situation, then what is the hope? The hope is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada has composed his purport with very, very heavy words. These ordinary people are misdirected civilization. They just don't know how a civilization should function. What role everyone should play. So what will help us is the glorification of name, fame and pastimes of the Lord, even though it is imperfectly composed. So this imperfectly composed does not mean that there is some philosophical problem. Imperfections here means literary imperfections. Why there can be imperfections in such composition can be many reasons. Like the foreign language may not be, the person who is composing literature may not be perfect with the foreign language. Like for example, Prabhupada is presenting in English and Prabhupada's accent was not English. He was having a Bengali accent, but he gave purports in English. So that is the reason why sometimes you will see that Prabhupada books have been revised, because the people who were first editors were not so conversant with Bengali accented English. Right? So in this way, there were some imperfections, but there were no philosophical difficulties. Or sometimes, the Sanskrit in itself is very difficult to be presented in English. Like once I was preaching, we used to go to a college preaching, and a devotee, upcoming devotee asked me a question, that what is this amsha? You told that there is, the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. What do you mean by part? And what do you mean by parcel? Because Prabhupada used that word called part and parcel, and English in itself is insufficient language to explain what is amsha. Like how do you explain Amsha in English? Is there any other possibility? So Prabhupada used part and parcel. So there may be imperfections. Part means a part that can be separated. But Amsha is different. Parcel means, it gives a different word in English. Parcel can mean so many things. Prabhupada used a part and parcel. Or if you go to English dictionary, I don't suppose there is a word called Godhead. If you go to English dictionary, God is there, head is there. But Godhead is a new composition Prabhupada has used, or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, you can say that. I think the word called Supreme Personality of Godhead was composed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. In Sanskrit, what is that? Purna Purushottam Bhagwan is called Supreme Personality of Godhead. So English language, you just can't explain anything. Or in Sanskrit, or in our language, we have Antaranga Shakti. So that is called internal energy, but it is not actually internal of what English it means. But that is the closest explanation that we can give in English. But if you are thoroughly honest, what Prabhupada is trying to present is, if you are thoroughly honest, even though you read English, you will understand what is the meaning that is being trying to be delivered. So that is the importance of, that is the qualification of a person who is trying to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. If the person who is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam and the person who is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam both have their respective qualifications, although the language may be imperfectly composed, people will understand. Like for example, many people, if you have heard the lectures of initial devotees who have come to Krishna consciousness, like Hayagriv Prabhu or Satswarup Maharaj, or even if you read Leelamrit. Or I was hearing this interview with Allen Ginsberg. He was a very famous hippie in America. He also says that we couldn't understand Swamiji in the beginning. But the Swamiji was presenting the philosophy with such gravity, such importance, that we understood Krishna consciousness. Right? Prabhupada's Bengali accent and the American English accent is very difficult to grasp. But still they heard Prabhupada, they became devotees, they started distributing books. Right? In a very strange way that happened. So Prabhupada gives an example here that if there is a fire in the house, if there is an emergency, the person will express even though the language is not understood. Like for example, you are having great hunger. If you don't know, suppose you land in a very foreign language, very foreign country where you don't know language, ABCD of that language. You want to convey that you are hungry. How do you convey? So people will understand even if you not spoke like that. So even though this literature, the thing is there is urgency to understand this literature. Because if you do not understand Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole civilization is going to gutter. Whole civilization is going to destroy itself. Because the civilization is not being directed, they are investing their energy in self-destruction. I heard that in this world, the fourth world war will be fought with hands, lances and, what do you say? Sticks. You can say, why fourth world war? Because if there is a third world war, everything will be destroyed. We now have in the entire world as many weapons as we can destroy the entire world 3 times. So can you imagine why are we investing in weapons? See, if you want to destroy the entire world, okay, fine. So you can have so many weapons to destroy the entire world. What does it mean that if you are increasing the weapons so much so that you can destroy the entire world 3 times? Is it not meaningless? Is it not meaningless? If you destroy, you don't exist. Right? You are creating weapons Even after you die, what is the use of that weapons? So this is a misdirected civilization we are living in. So that's why this urgency of Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood. And this only devotees can understand. Devotees only can present it. That's the reason why, even though some Mayavadi commentaries are very thoroughly composed, they are not as far as wide distributed in as much as Bhagavad Gita. The people who are thoroughly honest were devotees of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada's followers, followers of Prabhupada. We feel the urgency, we go out and distribute books. So this is that particular verse Prabhupada is quoting, that even though his composition, although Prabhupada's composition is perfect, right? He says that even though it is not thoroughly perfect, it is still having that gravity. We can understand the literatures by what it is presenting. Srimad Bhagavatam, so many years back presented, even though it is by Vyasa, it is still very, very relevant. Like for example, you go in the modern society, they buy newspapers, right? Now, sometimes the cost of the newspaper is so less. In 5 rupees, you get like thick newspaper, right? The same newspaper, if it is sold the next day, what is the price of that? Nothing, right? The same newspaper, you sell in one day, that newspaper that is available on that day, you have to sell it for 5 rupees. Next day, say, Radhika Bhav. Radhika Bhav means 5 rupees per kg. Dispose of. So in the morning, the importance was for the content. And in the next day morning, the importance is of weight. Radhika Bhav ban gaya. Right? You understand what is going on in the material world. So easily degrading. So easily degrading. That is how, what is material content. Sometimes you have monthly magazines, right? You sell it in the beginning of the day, after a few days it becomes again Radhika Bhav. But whereas Srimad Bhagavatam, what Prabhupada has written 50 plus years back, we are still distributing at pricelessness. People may buy the Bhagavatam, but there is a catch here. Shrunvanti, Gayanti, Grananti Sadhva. Grananti means accept in the heart, not just in the home. Accept in the heart. So this is what devotees are supposed to be. We are not supposed to be like crows. Like if I tell that there is a bird which is coming and eating the filth, Prabhu, so you don't have to tell that it is a crow. If I tell that there is a bird, even though I gave a mixture of water and milk, it drank only milk. What is the meaning of that? The bird is swan. If somebody is reading Srimad Bhagavatam, although there is so much of filthy literature we have selected, Srimad Bhagavatam, that means yes, devotional qualities. So, Prabhupada gives one more hint here, that in the beginning it may not be very tasty. In the beginning, it may not be very tasty, very, very well accepted. But very soon, you will see that the person understands that this is my need. So we have to come to this level of realizing Srimad Bhagavatam is my need. Coming to Srimad Bhagavatam, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam should be part of our life. Then automatically we live as directed by Bhagavatam. If we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, how Narada Muni, how Vyasa have relationship, how Vyasa, although he has composed so perfectly, 4 lakh verses. If you see the Upanishad mantras, they are so thoroughly, perfectly composed. Sometimes the compositions have very minutistic perfections. Like there are 16 vowels in one line, and the next line also should have 16 vowels. If there are 4 soft vowels, 4 hard vowels in the first line, same number of hard vowels and soft levels should be in second line. consonants, like you have ka, kha. Ka is a hard consonant, kha is a soft consonant. So how many hard consonants are there in one line? Next line also should have so many hard consonants. So this is the great science. It is not that you just learned some content, you just present it in Sanskrit, it becomes perfect. So much granular details are there in compositions. If you go back to Chaitanya Leela, there was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who discussed with a person called Keshav Kashmiri. Right? So when Keshav Kashmiri composed 100 verses glorifying Mother Ganga, his composition was thoroughly perfect. But still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought out few faults. Right? So to say, the transcendental literatures may have some difficulty in such composition. But if there is a honest glorification of Lord, if there is a kirtan, glorifying the name, pastimes of the Lord, it is perfect. So this jaundice disease also Prabhupada describes in few other places also. We have to keep on accepting sugarcane candy juice. And once we are treated with this, we are no longer interested in any other literature. Like devotees, you go and say that, Prabhuji, would you like to read the latest Filmfare magazine? It is free of cost. You will not be interested. You will say, we want to give you complimentary ticket in the cinema hall. Like, you do some online shopping. So many times there is offer. So they are ready to offer filth. Free complimentary ticket in the movie theater. Devotees will just, it is filth. It's not worthy. Whereas if somebody comes and, gives that, some very nice scriptural reading, but the cover is not so good, Prabhu. The cover is little bit torn, but the content is there. You can read the book. For example, there was one book written by Prabhupada before Chaitanya Charitamrita, The Perfection of Life. And it had a conversation of Ramanand Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, later on Prabhupada did not publish that book because almost the same content he presented in Chaitanya Charitamrita when he composed Chaitanya Charitamrita. Imagine I tell that this book which was composed by Srila Prabhupada, only the cover is broken, Prabhu, but the book is available. Prabhupada's writing. Immediately, yes, Prabhu, I want that book. Right? So this should be the mood of devotees. We give importance to the essence, not to the covering or external things. So this is what a devotee's life should be driven by. We look for the essence in Srimad Bhagavatam, essence in glorifying Krishna, essence in distributing these glories to the Krishna. Prabhupada writes one very important thing. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work. Because we want to imitate the West. If West is doing something, we will also do something. So that is a great difficulty. Prabhupada was preaching in India for how many years? Almost 40 years, 1926 to 1965. Imagine we had 40 years of Prabhupada after ISKCON was started. No, but we didn't give importance to Prabhupada at that time. We did not give importance to Prabhupada and Bhagavatam at that time. Only when we were preached by Westerners, we felt that yes, it is important. See the, Indian mentality. And see how Prabhupada was so expert to bring out, the interest in Indians. Now so many people are turning to Krishna consciousness because Prabhupada has so expertly presented Krishna consciousness. So this is the position of an Acharya. He creates that interest in the audience. He creates people, he directs people towards Krishna. So that is the importance of an Acharya. Rather than describing so many different things and not coming to Krishna. So this is what unintentionally Vyasadeva had done. He has presented so many different things, but not highlighted the glories and pastimes of the Lord. Like when we read book, sometimes we highlight it, right? So what happens by highlighting? Immediately you open the book, immediately you see, okay, what is highlighted? So this Srimad Bhagavatam is highlighting the content of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva has written how many? 4 lakh verses. So Narad Muni said, your composition is good, but you have not highlighted. You have not highlighted in the scriptures where are the glories of the names, forms and pastimes of the light. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is a highlight on the Vedic content. So this is what I thought we will discuss in Srimad Bhagavatam. Be focused on the essence, then this Bhagavatam becomes very, very nectarian. Especially the prayers of Bhagavatam, few selected verses, if we read, whenever we recite, it always enriches us. Like prayers of King Kunti, Attapur Mahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pashyemahi Striyaha, or the prayers of Vritrasura, Nanaka Prishtam Nacha Parameshtam Na Sarvabhaumam Na Rasadipadyam Na Yoga Siddhi Rapunar Bhavam Samanja Sattva Virahaya Kankshe. That verses which glorify the pure devotional service, it immediately catches us. So this is how once we take Srimad Bhagavatam, we are always eager for reading Srimad Bhagavatam only. Like that. So thank you all very much. If anybody has any questions, we can take, because we still have few more minutes. 4 or 5 minutes we have. Anybody has any questions on this presentation? Srimad Bhagavatam, important discussion. Yes, Pramod Prabhu. When he gets the taste in Bhagavatam. Like when I started reading Srimad Bhagavatam, of course I was motivated by a desire that I should read Bhagavatam. Like Prabhupada told that there is a natural instinct to read. Right? So somebody has natural instinct to read. Like somebody is less hungry, very thin, frail, less hungry. Somebody is more hungry. So how much hunger a person has for reading, you can see his library. Somebody has more hungry, you will just start reading. Yes, I have hunger, I should read. So when you get a very good feast when you are hungry, this is Srimad Bhagavatam. So just started reading. And I felt like if Prabhupada has not slept in the night to describe this, so at least I should read in this my life, at least once. Right? See, like people who work 2 shifts in a day, that means definitely he is so pure, he wants that money. Working hard like a labor, 2 shifts in a day, means he wants that money. It is important for him, without him he can't live. So Prabhupada had to present this literature. So we should be, Arey bhai, I should read. Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. He wants to give us something, we have to take it. So with that motivation, with that hunger, I started reading. So we all should read. Somebody who does not read, it is quite likely that he may not get that taste in Krishna consciousness. And we should relate these instances along while we are reading in our life. So then that momentum will be created. You know that momentum? When that momentum is created, you will go back to Godhead. If it is just there is instinct, that instinct should become a momentum. And when that momentum comes, then we will be alive in Krishna consciousness. Can you just silence it by mistake? My mobile is ringing, just silence it. Okay, thank you. Yes, Prabhu. 4 lakh verses in Vedas. Yeah. So that's why these 18,000 verses are a highlight of those 4 lakh verses. Okay? Yes? Okay. So, while we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, if a person who is directly presenting to you, the Guru in the disciplic succession, that makes it more tastier, as Bhagavatam describes. But still, when we read the content, when we relate it with our life, it makes us, yes, Srimad Bhagavatam is for me. So you need to have a presenter who will present it for your life also. And Srila Prabhupada's book also, even if you read mechanically, somewhere it will hit you. If you are sincere. The representation of Guru Tattva will come and give you realization. Even if you do not have that one particular person who gives you realization. If you have, it is good. If you does not have also, Guru Tattva will still work you. Like for example, when Prabhupada was printing this Back to Godhead magazine, he was distributing this in the streets of Delhi, busy streets of Delhi. He used to go to tea stalls. Prabhupada used to go to tea stalls and distribute Back to Godhead magazine. So one particular person told Prabhupada that why are you writing magazines? Why don't you write what? Books. He immediately understood that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj is telling me, write books. So that is the time when he again started, okay, let me start writing Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why you will see Vrindavan to Delhi, up down Prabhupada started distributing Back to magazines. The same time he started Bhagavatam. So Guru Tattva will help you if you are sincere, and Prabhupada and all our acharyas will help if you are sincere. Okay? So just like Parikshit Maharaj has had some disparity in his life, he wants to achieve the perfection in a very short span of time, 7 days. Similarly, everyone is living in that condition. In a very short span of Kali Yuga's life, we want to achieve the perfection of going back to Godhead. So Prabhupada has come to give us this Bhagavatam. So for a devotee, the first mission, what is the resolution is that I should read Prabhupada books. And then there's so many things that you can do in your life, even within Krishna consciousness. But this should be a primary guiding principle for us. Right? So thank you very much. Any questions further? Yes, Radha Kant Prabhu. Bhagwan Upanishad. Bhagwan Upanishad. Bhavani Upanishad. Okay. Okay, we present for new people generally Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. So when we have Bhagavad Gita in hand, we want to give it to that person. We tell that this book is distributed 20 lakhs books in a year. Most authentic Bhagavad Gita of Vedic times, you are getting it right in your hand. So please take it. So we accredit Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam with our ISKCON setup. We tell that this Bhagavatam is presented in a most authorized way and is being printed. If you see the leaflet, initial leaflet of Bhagavatam Srila Prabhupada carried to America, he presented as if this book has been, been carried by a very important ship to America. Right? What was that ship's name? No, Jalduta, that company's name. Steam India has carried this book for Americans to read. So it is to catch attention. So we have to try to catch attention of the people. But at the same time, we should understand that crows will like only filth. Crows will like only filth. So we should pray to Krishna that may this crow become a swan and we go ahead. We cannot change everyone in the society. So Prabhupada once was questioned that what will happen if the whole world will become Krishna conscious? So Prabhupada explained that it is very good if everyone will become Krishna conscious. But Prabhupada said there will be still some fools like you who will not become Krishna conscious. What we can do? We try our best, leave the rest to Krishna. Yeah. So thank you very much. There is another art also, like we are distributing Bhagavad Gita. They'll say, hey, it's such a big book, Bhagavatam, we can't read. So immediately we give teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Or On the Way to Krishna, small book. Like that. So there are various ways how we can give. So Prabhupada says, inject Krishna consciousness. So with that I have one understanding. Like small child, if he goes to the doctor, doctor says, isko kya chahiye? Injection. But the moment the child sees injection, he will say, no, I don't want. Then mother will say, no, look at that photo is very nice. So immediately the attention is diverted. He'll say, he will rub something on the hand. What is happening here? No, nothing. And suddenly, inject. So we have to do like that to Krishna consciousness. Suddenly, inject. Okay? Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.